I personally am having a hard time trying to figure out why you wouldn't want self-closing tags, okay? They feel convenient. Okay, so let's talk about this. All right, you see the syntax on my blog. It's what Prettier does, and I really like Prettier. However, I don't think this is a good thing. Okay, we're about to be hit with facts and logic. Everybody, get ready. Facts, logic, here it comes. Yes, I'm a virgin. Yes, I have sex. Yes, we exist. That's going in the YouTube video. Flip, zoom in. Take it out. Facts. Enter HTML. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Web3C had a real thing for XML. And the thought that it should replace HTML syntax. I thought HTML was a subset of XML. Is that not it? XBRL, do not mention XBRL here, please. It's a subset of SGML. You're right. I knew that. Shut up. Okay. There were good reasons for this. Let's see. At this time, there was no HTML parsing spec. So when it came to anything non-trivial, you would often end up with 4 browser engines interpreting the same HTML document 4 different ways. On the other hand, XML has a fully defined parser. But it would have been a huge change to do this all at once. So in 2000, XHTML 1.0 became a recommendation, a proposed writing HTML in a way that was compatible with both existing HTML parsers and XML parsers. That meant you'd write this. Okay? Because we've got to scare away newcomers, right? I don't get that argument. I mean, this is just real talk. This is just shit you put at the top of your XML. You write this like once per project, and then you never look at it again, right? I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that you got to put all that crap up there. You got to do a little doc type, and that's that. Like, that's what you got to do. You got to doc type it. And then HTML5 came around, and then you just like bang doc type or whatever it was, and that's what you did. Like, I don't really understand that one. Because we got to scare away newcomers, right? Instead of option value selected option, you'd write option value foo selected equals selected. Well, that's because it's funny. Okay? Can we be real here that selected equals selected is really funny? Can we agree that it just warms the cockles of my heart? Selected equals selected. Beautiful. All right, because in XML, attributes require values, and they must be quoted with double quotes. This is true. And you can do this. I think this right here, by the way, like this, I totally get. This is a Boolean property on an HTML tag. But this right here, I honestly think if this is generated code, it's fine. But if you handwrite a property with no double quotes, I think you're trying to be a bad person. I just think you're trying to be so clever. Real talk, I think you're just trying to be too clever. Like, that's just so effing annoying. Don't do that. Because, and also, source equals source. Instead of this, you'd write this. Well, would you, wait, hold on, whoa. This is only an artifact of the engine parsing. You're technically supposed to put a closing image tag. Because HTML is hyper resilient. There's a computer file YouTube video where it talks about this. It does the same thing with p tags. It's why you can't nest certain things with p tags. But you're supposed to actually have a closing item. Just the engine knows that images cannot have children, therefore it does intentional insertion of closing images. You're not really winning there. Because in XML, tags have to be explicitly closed, and XML has a shorthand for self-closing tags. For me, I actually like this. In HTML, tags have to be explicitly closed too. Most of them do. Some of them don't. And to me, that's actually a much bigger problem than this. In an XML, it'd generally be formatted like /this, okay? Without the space before the slash. But in Netscape Navigator 4, couldn't cope with that. I love it. Oh my god, couldn't cope without the space. White space significant Netscape Navigator HTML, where the slash immediately followed the attribute, so the spec recommended a space before it. But browsers didn't care. These rules were purely for XML parsers, and because documents were being served as HTML, if you're that one guy who served their site as application HTML plus XML, you don't need to tell me. These syntactical extras were ignored. With option equals selected, the value was ignored, so option selected would work too. This truly was the biggest curse. Can we all agree like that? The bigger curse isn't that option selected equals selected is a problem. It's the fact that we're trying to straddle two different things. Selected is treated as a Boolean property, so you can technically put whatever the hell you want in there. So that's why selected equals false is totally true. Disabled equals disabled. Does that mean disabled is disabled, or does that mean disabled is true? Like, real talk. How do you interpret that? Disabled? Disabling. Dude, we really need to come in with the N apostrophe T modifier in programming. I think it's so beautiful. If you end a slash with a slash close, the browser saw it as parsing error and ignored it. That's why where I started to take an issue. Bur is BR closed. This text is not included inside the bur, but also BR is closed. The text is not included. Yeah, that's because line breaks can't have text inside of them. See, to me, that's not a parsing error. I don't think it's actually a parsing error. I actually think that this is correct. This is a fully formatted tag opening and closing. This is just an implicit closing. It's kind of like an automatic semicolon insertion in JavaScript. You know, good old-fashioned automatic semicolon insertion, which still has one legacy bug that I hate. The bug I hate. Return that. What do you think comes out of this bad boy? What do you think comes out of this bad boy? What do you think comes out of that bad boy? The bug I hate. What do you think's coming out of this? Yeah, you get a sweet-ass undefined, huh? Yeah, isn't that great? Isn't that great? JavaScript, not white space significant, except for that one time. Automatic semicolon insertion, boys. So what happens? Oh, it's because it hits the return statement, and then a new line says, oh, there's nothing here. They meant to return undefined. Therefore, we automatically insert a semicolon for you. Someone fix this regex. Oh my gosh. You didn't know about that? It's a good one. This is a good one. Skill issue? Yes. True. Facts and logic. How is that real? It's JavaScript. It was invented in a coked out 10-day cycle by Brent and Greg. Okay, Netscape Navigator walked into his office one day and said, hey, we need Java. And he said, I'll give you Scheme. And they said, deal, but you got to have null. So we have nan, null, and undefined. And Scheme-like language that kind of looks like Java. What do you want? What do you want? 10 days. Give the man a break. Give the man a break. All right, this is where it gets confusing. The div is open. The text is inside the div. Really? Okay, that I did not know. Really? Are you? Really? Is that true? No. Well, damn, it's inside the div. Okay, everybody, it's inside the div. The web is truly an awful programming platform. You know what? I think we should all take a moment and just appreciate the fact that we've come this far with this. So does that mean a self-closing div doesn't work, but does that work? I'm more curious about that. So if we do it that way, does that actually change it? Okay, so that does. So you have to do a closing div tag to properly close a div. So, hold on, now I got more questions. It just keeps going inside. How do you end it? Wait, hold on. Does that mean I have to do an ending tag here? Dude, please tell me this works. 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 Oh my goodness, it works. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that this actually works. If you close it. Yes. Yes. Oh, this is so good. This is so beautiful. I already know this trick. This trick makes sense, but it's stupid, okay? Oh, this is so good. I hate this so much. I hate this so much. This is actually the most evil thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. Anyways, let's keep on going. Okay, this guy's making, dude, bro's making a point. He cooked, and he might actually be right. I came into this article thinking he was wrong. I think he's right. The bro cooked, and I mean, this guy came out with filet mignon. All right, in XML, div would be a self-closing div, but not in HTML. In HTML, it isn't this close that closes a bur. It's the bur. It's a part of a special list of elements that can never have children, and therefore they self-close. Div self-close doesn't self-close because div isn't on that list. I cannot believe I never knew this. I actually just don't. I can't even believe I didn't know this. It is actually exceptionally confusing. The transitional phase of XHTML ended in XHTML 1.1, and at this point, the spec required the document to be saved and parsed as XML. XML parsing rules were well defined, except for when it came to invalid syntax was encountered. The best thing browsers could do there was just show an error page. Else, we'd go back to browsers just making stuff up, and each behaving differently. And to that, browser said, no thanks. Agreed. This is by far the worst possible way to do things. Well, they didn't actually say no. They supported it, and still today, here's a valid XML. Okay, you can do that with that little thing, and here's an invalid one. But the browsers didn't see it as a future. Ask yourself, if you visit a website of your local doctor's surgery to find out the opening hours, which browser is best? The one that only displays the opening hours of the surgery, or the one that displays an XML parsing error message? I mean, it's obvious why they do this, right? HTML is meant to be highly resistive to like failing. Wow. One of the great things about browsers is they're error tolerant, and browsers weren't interested in giving that up. XHTML was eventually abandoned because a new thing came along that browsers were happier with. HTML5 entered the scene in 2008, and one of the major things it was introduced was a parsing spec. And unlike the XML parsing spec, it detailed what browsers should do when they encountered weird and invalid markup. It did away with all of the XML requirements introduced in XHTML and leaned into the looseness of HTML parsers that existed at the time. It does handle the slash specifically, but only to specifically ignore it. I honestly cannot think of a reason why you would ignore it. I feel like I knew this in my younger days. When I was like really actively building in like the IE8 days, I feel like I knew this, but I don't know this now. Has anyone tried a Kinesis Advantage 360? Yeah, I use it all the time. 60-day money-back guarantee. Use my code at bit.ly prime keyboard. I actually love this keyboard. I use it all the time. It's fantastic. Prime Kinesis. Boom. The look at that. It changes all the time. So it's this right now. It's actually fantastic. I love this keyboard. I've been using it. I've been using this keyboard before I got sponsored for like a half decade. It is like my favorite keyboard in the universe. It feels so much better than the Advantage 2 somehow. It does. But I love the Advantage 2. Paid chatter, by the way. That was totally a plant. I love it. I love Kinesis. I've been using them for over a decade. They actually saved my wrist. I was experiencing so much pain, and I switched to Dvorak and a Kinesis to save my wrist. You know what I mean? That was scary. I was just having my second kid. I was having a whole bunch of pain shooting up the side of my arm, and I was like, "Oh shit! Like, am I gonna have to quit? Am I gonna have to become a manager? Like, what the hell am I gonna do?" Dude, I was freaking out. I'll tell you this much: I was freaking out. No QWERTY. I gave up QWERTY. Yeah. Although Savage is an XML format, when it's embedded in an HTML document, it's parsed by the HTML parser. Did you work out back then? I did. Am I going to have to become a manager? My size, I know, dude, I was not ready for it. However, to increase compatibility with copy-pasted Savage content, when HTML parser is within a Savage tag, it switches to foreign content mode, where slash actually is meaningful. The div is open. Really? Oh. That's cool. Other foreign content such as MathML behaves the same. Wow. Okay, so this /G, you don't get a group. Okay. That is where things are today with slash close. It is mostly meaningless in HTML documents. Wow. Okay, these are the facts are good. I mean, I'm fact and logic right now. I am fully on this, guys. I've never had my opinion so changed in my entire lifetime. Honestly, I am shocked at how much I agree with everything that was just said. I was truly not planning on agreeing with that. By the way, all H's really appreciate that comment. Really amazing, insightful. Although in industry, we generally discarded most of the XHTML requirements, this self-closing tag decoration seems to have persisted, despite being a remnant from a spec that abandoned over 10 years ago. Folks, even include the space before this, which was added for compatibility with browser engines from the previous millennium. This guy's articles are quite good overall. Yeah, I'm loving this so far. I think it's confusing relic from a time past, and I don't think tools like Prettier should be pushing it. To make my case, I'll respond to counter-arguments that came up on a Twitter thread. Ooh, I love this. Self-closing tags make it easier to read and are helpful for newcomers, but they don't actually self-close. So there literally is no reason. Outside of foreign content, elements that self-close will always self-close. All other elements won't. This text is outside the input. This text is outside the input. This text is inside the div. This text is inside the div. Yeah. I mean, really, this is actually, I mean, I'm fully convinced. I purchased it. But does /close have to work to be useful? Code comments don't work, just like /that. They're an indication. They might be misleading, but that isn't a good argument for removing code comments. The problem with slash is it doesn't work like a comment, and worse, it doesn't always behave like a comment due to rules around foreign content. Yeah, to me, this is just like straight up, don't use slash because it is actually misleading. It actually is incorrect. You can use it in Savages, but use a minifier. Let a minifier just do it for you. I'll self-close tags if I want to. You go for it. I think that's particularly bad for newcomers. Imagine you've never seen image before. You see, like, unlike other elements, it doesn't have a closing tag. Debuggers and validators don't complain about it, suggesting there's something particular about this element you need to learn. It doesn't need to close. It self-closes, and it's particular in this behavior. Yes. You've sold me. Now imagine you've never seen this before. You look up this new syntax you discovered and learn that it means self-closing. At this point, why wouldn't you assume frame closes too? Why would this not or this is valid? Given this, I'm particularly sad that MDN uses self-closing tags as a beginner-facing documentation. It's consistent with JSX. JSX and HTML are different formats. They aren't consistent with each other. Pretending they are consistent is misleading. Ooh, I didn't realize that it's not consistent with JSX. Oh, that's even worse. Let's see. The above HTML renders as hello world, right? The above JSX renders as hello world. This is outside the div. Wow. I didn't realize these things. Honestly, I always thought it was, I always just thought these things were identical. I literally did not realize that there was a significant difference in JSX versus this, especially this one particularly, because this is like, if you switch to anything other than JSX, you're going to get bit in the ass because you have no idea how the thing actually works. I don't think it's based JSX. Okay, now that's fucked. This is actually what I'm shocked. JXS was a mistake. They're all mistakes. Maybe JSX is the more correct form, the way I would expect it to work. Nonetheless, JS was the real mistake here. Maybe JS was the friends we made along the way. Okay, maybe JS was the articles we sipped along, or the lattes we sipped along the way while making hundreds of thousands of dollars at a Google like place. Rest invest, baby. Div class name equals foo. The above HTML produces a div with class name attribute. Component class name equals this. The above JSX produces a div with class attribute. Okay, that's more of a React thing than JSX thing, but that's really common way. Yes, I do like these little secret names are very annoying as well. Secret names are super annoying. Can we all agree with that? That like having to need to know keywords and keywords translations are super annoying. And I always thought it was class name camel cased. It means I can parse HTML with an XML parser. Call me some sort of purist, but if I want to parse an HTML document, I'll use an HTML parser. I wouldn't try and write JSON so it can be parsed by YAML parser, so I don't see why I do the same with HTML and XML. Fair, fact-based, awesome. Agreed. Just fully agree. There are many great HTML parsing libraries out there for almost every language, and since the parser is specified, the result is consistent. It makes markup faster to parse. I've heard a few times, and I don't think it comes from an assumption that the more information you give, the better the processing can optimize, or something. But let's compare the two. Parsing BUR. There's a new tag, BUR, the element, end tag. BUR doesn't go back into the stack of elements because it's a self-closing one. BUR, parse, BUR, oh, it's a new tag. BUR this. Okay, I'll just ignore that. End tag. BUR doesn't go back on the stack of elements because it's one of the self-closing ones. So technically, BUR is slower to parse as it contains an extra slash. Yep. It isn't any slower. It isn't slower in any meaningful way, but it definitely isn't faster. Based, factual, and awesome. It looks pretty. Okay, so this actually is my only true argument right now I can think of. Sure, that's subjective. I thought slash close looked ugly the first time I worked on a code base that required it, but I got used to it. I also got used to missing it. Missing it out. If prettiness is the goal, hey, we could use this. I don't get that. I honestly don't understand what that is. Oh, stop. I get it. It's a stop sign. But seriously, I think aesthetics should take a back seat, given how misleading the syntax is. Prettier should be more opinionated. I think Prettier should fix their case statements is what they should. I respect Prettier's our way or the highway approach, but I don't think it's consistent here. It will change BUR to BUR, but it won't do anything with div. In fact, if you give it div, it will reformat as div. I think Prettier should either drop this in cases where it's meaningless to parse or fix the case where it's actively misleading, as in this. I actually think, that's a great point. How do you even resolve how long this thing goes? Like, this is actually really hard. This is a very seriously hard parsing problem. Right? This is switch statements in Prettier drive me nuts. Same here. It's why I won't use Prettier. Honestly, it's why I won't. I think it's stupid. The top one is invalid HTML. This one is invalid HTML. But that's what Prettier does. It's an unclosed tag, and Prettier can't fix that. Well, the problem is it can't remove it. Because you could have styles and stuff. You could be expecting something to happen, right? You can't just remove this because it has meaning. That's the hard part. Because you don't know what styles are applied to basic divs. You don't know what's going to happen here, so you can't remove it. The problem is that its true behavior is this, and that's what's misleading. A major part of the problem is that slash close is sometimes ignored and sometimes not. Within the same, well, it's always ignored. There's just behavior that happens within the same HTML document. Or I guess, unless if you're in Savage, then it does the correct thing, right? We could have the option to switch the parsing rule so slash is meaningful, as in slash div actually closes the tag. I filed an issue for this, but I suspect it's a no-go due to incompatibility with existing libraries, particularly security-sensitive ones. Oh well. What a way to end the article. GG. What an article. What an article. This was fantastic. My goodness. Hey, Twitter, you've earned a follow from me. There you go. You get a follow. I appreciate that. Jake Archibald. What a name. What a beautiful name. Archibald.